kinds of plans. We were doing training down there, and we were a lot of training for PhDs in managing knowledge workers programs and so forth. Have you guys met my buddy Tony? Who's
Once or twice.
you do a great job of sneaking in and out, right?
Final, not final. Somebody's
Mid-
final.
Somebody's midterm. So when those things came, where do you think all those PhDs ended up? Boom, right? They were worried about their family, worried about getting clean water, worried about food. So us as a manager, again, these things we're going to talk about in the next few minutes, we can have long, interesting discussions about the research behind these or the use of them, but they are useful models for us to think about what kind of things should we be doing to develop social systems within our projects and to recognize people. And what's in a project management world, what's the ultimate job that lives right there? In a project management world. Horribly asked questions. It won't be on the test, but help me out here. Not the sponsor. Good response, but not the sponsor. I'm talking about on the project itself.
Talking about a role or?
A role, yeah, a role. Maybe that'd be a better way to say it.
Project manager.
I
SME.
wish. SME. Here's the subject matter expert, because he or she, they're doing what they are absolutely best at, world class at. They don't care about schedules for the most part, don't care about costs anytime, right? They're just, I'm the expert, right? So I'm living there in that space. If you as project managers understand this, and you understand that people move, what else moves people up and down the hierarchy?
Putting too much work in.
Okay, it could. I like to say life happens. What kind of things happen? You have a baby, you build a house, you have a sick parent, you get a divorce, you have an animal gets sick, right? We come right down the needs hierarchy, and now, you know what, I don't care about your recognition program. I don't care about being a part of any team, right? It's just a job. And we even talk to people about this whole concept of career versus job. This is not good versus bad. When I'm working on my career, I'm working to improve and get better and do more important work. But there are times in my life when all I want's a job. I'll trade you value for value. I'll give you $100 worth of work and you give me $100 and leave me alone. Right? So as a project manager, if you recognize there are people like that on your project, it's okay. That's an acceptable value for value deal. But there are some people you're going to need and want to go above and beyond. And so that's a different deal. So that's the needs hierarchy. All right. McGregor's theory X and theory Y. McGregor did some research where he went out and they said, we're going to identify, who knows McGregor? Okay, a little bit. We're going to identify those elements such that if we do these kind of things, we as managers do these kind of things, they're going to motivate people. If this is available, it's going to be motivational. If it's not available, it's going to demotivate people. So we're going to try to figure out what those things are, and then we'll do these and stop doing those, and life will be wonderful. So they did some really interesting research. It was interesting the way they did it, and we'll talk about that if you want to sometime. But what they ended up finding out is that there are two sets of activities or elements. And he called these motivators and hygienes. They found that if these things are available, they are very, very motivational. that people can get behind this. And this was things like recognition and, a job that matters, doing something that's important. A few, does he list them here? All right. I'm on the wrong one, aren't I? I'm doing motivators and hygienes. My bad. Let me. Here we go. My bad. I'm going to talk about Hertzberg. Then I'm going to go back to McGregor. My bad. My bad. So Hertzberg did this research. Said, what are the elements? What motivators? What are hygienes? And so motivators were responsibility, professional growth, self-actualization, recognition. That list of things. The hygienes were things like working conditions. Let's say here's salary, status. So there was a list of things that if they were not available, they were demotivating. But if they were there and you did the very best you could do with them, you got zero motivation. Okay? So what happened was he recognized that you could do these things and you could get motivation out of it. You could do these things and the best you would get is zero. If you didn't do these things, you got demotivation. If you didn't do these things, you got zero. So in terms of motivation, if this is zero motivation, this one looked like that, and this one, that's negative, this is positive, look like that. Now, what's interesting about those two lists?
Well, they're similar to your other triangle, right? Your psychological or physiological.
Yes, that's true.
So all the hygiene is stuff on the bottom, basically.
Okay, so the hygienes are the things that are on the bottom. And where do most companies and most managers spend their time and effort and energy? On hygienes, right? We worry about working conditions. We want to make sure that the change rooms are clean and fixed, and that the walkways are safe, and right that we do job titles appropriately. When, let's say we were world class and we did that all perfectly, what's the motivating factor? Zero. But over here, recognition, important work, professional growth, what's the cost associated with this compared to this? Less. It's less costly to do this, and we get motivation out of it. It's more costly to do this, and we get zero motivation out of it. But this is where we spend our time and energy and effort. And this is where the arguments are. Now, is salary a motivator or a hygiene?
It could go either way.
Is salary a motivator or a hygiene?
It's a hygiene, but change could be motivated.
Well, you have to have salary to pay the mortgage. However, some people work for money, so it's really both. Right?
Okay. Are you motivated by salary?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so if I gave you a 10% raise today, would you work harder tomorrow?
I would feel more recognized.
In the short term.
Status, maybe?
Some people feel they have to do less work as they move up, right? So.
Well, it also kind of depends too, because it's like your salary increase could be also tied to a position increase.
Bingo! So what the research says is salary is a motivator if it's tied to recognition. salary is a demotivator if people don't believe they're fairly paid. All right, if you think you're out of line, it's a demotivator. But if I told all of you, every one of you, you're going to get a 10% raise tomorrow, would you work harder tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes, you would. Okay, you would. All right. All right. Here's the deal, though. All right. Here's the deal. Everybody at your place of work that's not in this class today got 20%, except for you. Now, are you motivated? Are you going to work harder tomorrow? I hate that for you. You know, you chose to be here. Salary, money, compensation is a really difficult thing to deal with. It's obvious, and that's why I stopped you right in the beginning, because what you were saying is salary can be a huge demotivator, right? So if it's a huge demotivator, what does that make it? A hygiene or a motivator? It's a hygiene. And I agree with you. It can be a huge demotivator. If you don't feel like you're being paid fairly, if you don't feel like you're trading value for value, if you feel like you're the only one working in your organization, it can be a huge demotivator. The principle for us to take away today is this costs a lot of money. It's expensive, and it doesn't get us any motivation. This is fundamentally easy to do. We're talking about recognition and job growth and opportunity and challenging work. You're the project manager. If you're willing to get out and talk to your people and find out what they're doing and understand what they're trying to accomplish and help them accomplish their goals, a lot of this can be done as a part of our job and not cost us very much at all. But it's very motivational. If I believe my boss has my best interest at heart and she wants me to grow and learn and become better, I become motivated to do those kind of things to make me a better employee, to make me more valuable to the company. Just because I'm being recognized, I'm doing important stuff, right? So recognizing the difference between motivators and hygiene is something you need to do, and you need to be able to recognize it, and I'm going to show you a video just in a second, and you need to understand why that's important. All right, one more thing before I show you the video. We talked about a matrix organizational structure. You remember that? And we have functional organizations and project organizations. Does everybody remember that?
Yes.
And you're comfortable with what those two mean and how that works, how the functional organizational structure works? Everybody comfortable with that? So you got project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4. And up here you got civil, physics, electrical, project controls, whatever all the functional pieces are, right? Okay, and down in here on project number 2, here's us, right? We're working on this project. All right, it comes evaluation time. Who does your evaluation?
Manager,
Which one?
the one that doesn't know what you're doing. I mean, he doesn't know what the details of what you've done are. Right?
That's a great answer. Which one evaluates? The manager. Which one? The one that doesn't know what you're doing. I love it because it's the truth.
Well, yeah, GD, I was a field engineer working for other organizations, and my manager actually said that, I gotta go figure out what you've done over the last year.
Okay? So you've all lived in this space, right? Who owns the motivators?
Project.
The project manager owns recognition, job quality, advancement, you know, on the project, right? Who owns the hygienes? See a problem with that?
I have a question though, because it's like, I agree that what you're saying as far as like the project manager would be the one that would recognize that fact and say that, but it would be ultimately the functional manager who actually owns the ability to do that. Because I could recommend, like if Joe was on my team and I'm the project manager, I could recommend all day long, say, hey, Joe is a rock star, give him a service recognition award, but I don't have the authority to do that. His functional manager does.
You just made my point. Exactly. This person really knows what I'm doing and owns the hygienes in terms of thanking you and that, right? This person really knows what I'm doing, but this person decides whether or not I get any recognition or a raise or a promotion, or right? Now, this is a good discussion, because you can say, well, yeah, but if you've got the right. I just want you to recognize that this is the system we use to organize projects, and we have divided up motivators and hygienes so that the person that controls the important stuff doesn't control the important stuff. Everybody okay with that? You okay with what the point I just made? I don't, at this point, care that you understand it completely. I want you to just see that and go, holy cow, this is the way projects work, and we've divided these two pieces. Okay? All right. I want to talk about one more, and then we'll watch the video next week.
Okay.
Okay? I want to talk about one more. We won't even talk about theory Y and theory X. We'll do that next time. I want to talk about McClellan's three-need theory. In McClellan's research, he looked at plant closures and said, what happens when plants close? How do people react, and what do they do, and what are the results of that? How does it affect the community, and some other really interesting stuff. But what he found was that there were a couple of groups of people, primarily, that he was able to identify. One was a group of people that once the plant closed, they continued to get together and talk together. They met at the labor hall there. They met in their church basement. They met at the Elks Club, and they talked about, wonder when the plant's going to reopen, and wonder if somebody's going to come and buy the plant, and there's a rumor, and yada 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 yada. But the important thing for this group of people was staying together and being part of a group. And he called these people affiliators. They had a need for affiliation, and he did it like this: need for AF, these were people with a need to affiliate. There was another group of people that he identified that when the plant closed, they immediately started to say, okay, well, I'm capable of running this machine, which means I'm capable of understanding something about computer-controlled systems, which means I'm able to understand something about making parts, and yada, 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 yada. Who else does something like that? And they started to look around and looking for ways to apply their talents, apply their experience. And these people, for the most part, were in some kind of another job within the next couple of months, doing something. May not be in the same community, may not be in the same area, but they were back doing something. And he called these people achievers. And he said they have a need to achieve, small n, ACH. So there were people who had a need to achieve, and people who had a need to affiliate, to be with people. Now the fact is that we all have both of these needs to some level, 0 to something, right? But we have a need to achieve and a need to affiliate. And he began to understand that and began to look at the application of this. What does it mean in terms of organizations? What does it mean in terms of project success? So as a project manager, which kinds of these people do you want?
Achieve.
I want need to achieve. I just want my work done.
Okay.
That's all I want.
Most project managers just want to get the work done. I need people who want to achieve, who want to get something done, move on, right? Da-da-da-da-da. Now, some of you said we need both kinds of these people. I tend to say what you said. My brother-in-law, who's an HR professional, pushes back on me regularly and says, yeah, but you've got to have some people who are affiliation, you know, because they want to, you want to enjoy your work, da-da-da. And I said, no, not for me. Most achievement-oriented people are motivated by achievement, and they're happy and feel good about themselves because they accomplished something, right? You can, now a third of the class is doing this, and a third is doing this, which is good, right? I know which ones have you not to hire. just kidding.
All those other folks are out there, they're gonna feel empty, right? Right, because the other guys are like, yeah, let's go find another one, right? Let's get on another project, let's keep working. The other guys are gonna be like, oh, what do we do now?
Okay,
Right.
so don't hear me judging, right? It was not intended that way. But the point is, we need to understand that as project people, that there are people who are fundamentally achievers, people who are fundamentally affiliation people. And that's at the core of who they are. Now, it doesn't mean I can't get good work done out of people who tend toward being affiliators, but if I'm going to get a project done on time, under schedule, within budget, I'm going to need a group of people who are driven to get something done, who are achievement oriented, who are all about the job, and we and the team, and right? So for us as project managers, do you understand why I need to understand that this exists and this is out there? So for you, think about it. What they've seen is, and we're coming close to the end, but what they've seen is there are countries that take on these kind of personalities, right? Can you think of an affiliated kind of a country?
Italy.
Italy,
Switzerland.
Switzerland, Spain, right? It's all about being together and having the siesta and the party. Now, is that fair? No, because they're really smart, really driven people in Spain. But as a society, right? Now, what's the U.S.?
Power.
Our history would say we're an achievement-oriented society. Now, somebody said used to be, right? But just think about what that causes you to think about. If I'm developing a company and I'm pulling together a team to get something really important done, what kind of people do I want on my team? Achievement-oriented. And I need to be thinking about, what does that sound like in an interview? Last thing here. And I know I'm coming from a certain side of this, but that's the side I come from. If you want to have a discussion offline, I'd be glad to have it. But if I'm pulling together a team, I want a certain kind of team. If I'm in an interview and somebody says, well, my sister works out here and she says you all have great benefits, and I'm looking to get on out here, and you know, I want to be a part of this, because you know, I understand that you get 11 holidays. And now, which kind of person have I just interviewed? An affiliator. But if somebody comes into the interview and they said, hey, I've looked at your website, you guys are doing some really cool carbon fiber stuff, and I want to be involved in developing this technology, what kind of a person am I talking to? An achiever, right? Now, I could misread that in a 30-second interview, but the point is to recognize these kind of people exist and to understand that, ooh, okay. Now, there's a third kind of person that he identified, and these people have a need for power without any connection to achievement or affiliation, right? They just need to be in charge. They need to be the boss. They have a need for power, and they don't care about the other two. Where do those people primarily end up? In politics. No joke, right? Think about it. They just want to be in charge. I don't want any responsibility. I don't care if we get anything done. I don't care if we accomplish anything. I want to be the boss. Have you ever worked with that person? Or seen that person in your organization? They are dangerous in an organization because they want to be in charge. They don't want any responsibility. They don't really want to do anything, but they want to be the boss or the king or the queen, right? So recognizing that this exists can be useful to you as you sit in your project management seat and think about pulling together teams. And we will cover pink stuff next time, and I'll go back and do theory X and theory Y for you next time too, just so you're exposed to that, because those are good test questions. You guys want to take a break before Reed starts his class? And
So in an interview, they're the ones asking what you do. They say that's a corporate.
yeah, there you go. Where do you want to be in 5 years? I want to have your boss's job.
Yeah, your boss.